is on the thyroid. And so, as an introduction, let me just talk about why I do this talk and all my talks. And it's because I'm interested in having my patients make, make more intelligent and wise decisions regarding their health. There was a study that came out from Duke University in 2009, and this researcher said the primary cause of death in this country is making dumb decisions. And so I do these talks because I want you to make wise decisions, and I want you to understand that health is not just about symptoms, but it's about taking care of the body and how it works. And my goal is to get you to the point where you don't need me as much or any doctor as much because you know how to take care of yourself. So let's look at the thyroid. The thyroid dysfunction is extremely common in this country. A lot more women have it than men, and we're going to show you why that is here. So we're going to talk about 6 things tonight. What is a thyroid? What does it do? Symptoms of thyroid dysfunction. Lifestyle, toxic, metabolic, and environmental causes of thyroid dysfunction. How the thyroid interacts with the gut. How we evaluate the thyroid, and natural treatment for low thyroid. So the thyroid is a butter-shaped gland that lies right at the base on your windpipe, just below your Adam's apple. And it influences the rate of metabolism in the body. In other words, it influences how fast your body burns fat and how fast your body just burns nutrients and takes them up. It produces a substance called T4, and T4 is then converted to T3. Now, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, is produced in the pituitary gland, and it tells the thyroid whether to produce thyroid hormone or not. So it's a feedback loop. When TSH gets too high, the thyroid produces T4, which is converted to T3, which the pituitary senses and then drops the thyroid stimulating hormone down. So that's how it's supposed to work. The problem is people that come in with a consistently elevated TSH usually indicates some sort of thyroid dysfunction or pathology. And in fact, as I'll say later on, I've seen many people, many patients, I could show them to you, have come in with a normal, perfect TSH and have autoimmune thyroid disease. So in my opinion, my professional opinion, after having done thousands of these tests, I don't think TSH is a very good indicator of how the thyroid is actually working.
Oh, really?
Let's look at functions of T3 and T4. They increase the temperature and metabolic rate in the body. They increase the breakdown of fat, play an important role in normal growth and development, especially in kids. So kids that are born with thyroid issues or have thyroid issues, this is a big deal for them. They have a direct effect on the heart, have a significant effect on bone turnover, and affect the central nervous system, very important for mental development. So think of T4 as crude oil that's pumped out of the ground, and think of T3 as crude oil that's been refined into gasoline. So T4 is converted into T3, and T3 is really what runs the metabolism of the body. So what are the signs and symptoms of thyroid dysfunction? Well, if you look at hyperthyroid, tremors, AFib, nervousness, one of the big ones is goiter. You know, somebody has a large growth around their thyroid. Enlarged thyroid is a goiter. Increased appetite, weight loss, insomnia, increased bowel movements, and here you can see a goiter on her. What about low thyroid? And this is what you mainly see in practice, is low thyroid. Anxiety and panic attacks, thickened nails, brittle thickened nails, constipation, decreased memory, depression, headaches, rough dry skin, weight gain, morning stiffness, excess earwax, and hair loss in front and back of the head. Now, a lot of these I see that are caused by other things other than thyroid. But I do see a lot of thyroid people that have thyroid issues that have these symptoms. In fact, I see it a lot. Now, when you see like a loss of 1/3 of the outside of the eyebrow, which I think I have a little bit, that's a classic example of low thyroid. Common problems often caused by thyroid dysfunction: anxiety and panic. How much of that do we see? A lot. Obesity, sexual dysfunction, edema, fibromyalgia-like symptoms. And this is all in the literature. This is the Journal of Affective Disorders, Endocrine and Metabolism Clinics of North America. I mean, I got this out of these journals over a period of time. And so this is well documented in the medical literature. Let's look at lifestyle factors which lead to diminished thyroid function. High stress and elevated cortisol. Don't we have a lot of stress in this culture? A lot. On so many levels, especially the last 2 years of COVID and its variants. Chronic dieting, weight gain, obesity, toxic exposure, diabetes, dietary issues. Now, this is a pretty big one: gluten and food intolerance. I just did a gluten food intolerance leaky gut test on a couple of my patients, and both of them had it. Both of them had leaky gut and profound gluten intolerance. And a lot of people are gluten intolerant and don't even realize it. And that could be causing, their thyroid issues and a lot of their, some of their emotional issues as well. Lack of exercise. So any of these factors can lead to hypothyroidism. So let's look at adrenals. Now, the adrenal glands, which sit on top of the kidneys, like right about here, they're stress glands, and they're very tied in to thyroid dysfunction. So thyroid and adrenal go together like two players on the same team. When one struggles, the other's taxed as well. So if you're taking your body temperature every day, a consistently low body temperature usually indicates thyroid. But if your body temperature is up and down, depending on the day, that's adrenal. And that's how you can tell the difference, what may be causing it. Metabolic and toxicity factors that diminish thyroid function. So there's a lot of things that can do that. Liver dysfunction or disease, another common problem. I see it all the time in practice. Liver issues, kidney health. Usually kidney dysfunction is from medications people are taking, heavy metal accumulation, and I do a talk on toxicity, where we talk about where these come from: cadmium, mercury, and lead. Toxicity like fluoride, pesticides, radiation can diminish thyroid function. Mineral deficiencies. Selenium and iodine deficiencies are very, very common in our culture. We see zinc deficiencies too, but I see selenium deficiencies all the time. Selenium is absolutely crucial for the conversion of T4 to T3. Does anybody else know what selenium does?
No idea.
It's a very powerful antioxidant in the body. And iodine, we tend to be deficient in iodine here in the Midwest because we don't eat a lot of seafood, and there's not much in the soil. So sometimes you have to supplement. You don't need a lot of iodine because your body tends to recycle it pretty well, but you need some. I take a product, one of my own products called Cataplex F, which has some iodine in it. So I'm getting iodine on a regular basis with that. And then certain medications interfere with thyroid function: beta blockers, birth control pills, estrogen, chemotherapy, prednisone, glucocorticoids. A lot of people are getting this that have COVID. Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't be getting it, but I'm saying that what they probably don't realize is the effect that it could have on their thyroid if they're kept on it long enough. So there's a thyroid gut connection. And I mean, there seems to be a gut connection with just about everything in the body. Gut brain connection, gut thyroid connection. And so the thyroid is very directly associated with how our gut works, like acid production in the stomach, the way our bowels empty, healthy gallbladder and liver function, and small intestinal bacterial balance are all associated with thyroid. So if your thyroid is unhealthy, it's quite possible that these things here are going to be unhealthy as well. So cutting edge research involving autoimmune thyroid dysfunction shows that leaky gut is a major issue with thyroid autoimmune disease. And so we have ways of measuring leaky gut here. We can certainly fix it. It takes time to correct leaky gut. But when your gut is leaking, when the cells, the tight junctions come loose and gluten and bacteria and toxins get into your bloodstream, that is a major factor in thyroid autoimmune problems. And if you look at like Hashimoto's, for example, Hashimoto's is an autoimmune thyroid problem where the body actually attacks the thyroid. Lots of people have it. So here's how it works. If you have an antibody in your blood and your body becomes sensitized to gluten, so it creates antibodies to it here. Well, thyroid tissue, there's certain aspects of thyroid tissue that resemble gluten. So you can see how now the body would attack thyroid because it recognizes it as an enemy, when it's really gluten that's the issue. So one of the things that I would recommend if you have a thyroid issue is find out, number one, are you gluten intolerant? Do you have leaky gut? Those are two things I would definitely look into. That's really important. This process here is called molecular mimicry, and it happens a lot in the body with lots of different foods. So molecular mimicry can also be caused by plant lectins. And lectins are a form of protein found in all kinds of plants. And lectins, what they do is lectins protect the plant from insects, basically. That's what lectins are for. The problem is there's a lot of people out there that are lectin sensitive and develop autoimmune problems in the body. So lectins are found in grains, legumes, nightshades like tomatoes. Tomatoes are very high in lectin. Potatoes, lectin.
Oh, wow.
Now, sweet potatoes are different. You can have all the sweet potatoes you want, but regular potatoes high in lectin. Eggplant, peppers. Here's another one that's high in lectins. Two other ones. You won't like them. Peanuts and cashews. Very high in lectins. And there's a book written about this by a neurosurgeon by the name of, or a heart surgeon by the name of Stephen Gundry, called The Plant Paradox. And in that book, he talks about how things that we generally deem as healthy in our diet can actually be harmful to us because of the lectins. So like, let's take tomatoes. So raw tomatoes, very high in lectins. You cook them, then the lectins, that really breaks down the lectins. So cooked tomatoes are actually much healthier for people than raw tomatoes. Potatoes, big source of lectins. Listen, I like potatoes just like anybody. Peppers, like bell peppers, high in lectins, and I wish they weren't because I like them, but they are. Now, one of those harmful lectins is wheat germ agglutinin. It's found in wheat and other seeds, and again, lectins can contribute to leaky gut. A lectin-restricted diet could be helpful if you're dealing with arthritis, diabetes, heart disease, irritable bowel, obesity, or thyroid dysfunction. How would a high lectin diet affect diabetes? What do you think? What's the gland in the body that produces insulin?
Well, the pancreas.
Pancreas, okay?
But it's all connected. The thyroid, the pancreas, it's all part of the endocrine system.
That's right. So it's possible that maybe the plant leptins could actually be attacking the pancreas.
Wow.
So that could contribute to diabetes in that regard. So do I pay a lot of attention to leptins? I pay some attention. I can't say that I avoid them completely. We eat potatoes occasionally. We completely avoid peanuts and cashews at our house. We do eat some bell peppers. Not a lot, but some. So I can't say we completely avoid them, but we avoid them mainly, I would say. Now, how do you evaluate the thyroid? You know, iodine's an important measurement. It modulates. Here's the thing about iodine. If you have cysts in your breast or uterine fibroids, it's usually an iodine deficiency. So
Really?
iodine is involved in the conversion of estrone and estradiol to estriol. So iodine's really important in the body. By the way, what else does iodine do that you can think of? It's really powerful. When you were little...
Mom used to put it on my scratches.
Yes!
I never had the mercurochrome. I always was orange from the iodine.
That's good, because iodine kills everything. It kills bacteria, it kills viruses. I mean, it is nasty to those bugs. So here's what I've been waiting for somebody to say about COVID. You know, if it kills viruses, and we know it does, why not put some iodine in a nebulize a room? Get a nebulizer or a vaporizer, put several drops of iodine in.
Would that work? Because
What?
it stains so bad?
Well, if you put a couple of little drops of it in a lot of
I
water,
suppose.
I think that might work.
My mother used to just put it on my skin, whether I had a cut or not.
Yeah.
She used to say if your body needs iodine, it'll absorb it.
And she's right. She's right about that.
Who knew?
Yeah, who knew? So what causes low iodine? Poor soil iodine. It's really negatively impacted by what are called the goitrogenic halides, bromine and fluorine. So when bromine and fluorine are absorbed into the body, they bind to the iodine receptors and they won't let iodine in. So what are some of those things? Sources of bromide, flame retardant, which is used on everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, carpets, upholstery, airline seats, medications, brominated white flour. You know, when I was a kid, they used to put iodine in flour. It's iodized flour, and they switched to bromine. And I don't know why. I think because the chemical industry lobbied that they need something to do with their extra bromide. So they brominated flour. You also see it in drinks such as Mountain Dew, Gatorade, Squirt, and Sundrop, which is why I won't go near those drinks. The brominated vegetable oils are used in the citrus drinks. So these are sources of bromine. Now let's look at fluoride. We know that fluoride, toothpaste, mouthwash, drinking water, fluoride is actually tea contains fluoride, which I don't like that because I like to drink tea, but tea actually contains natural fluoride. I think my opinion is the body can handle natural fluoride a lot more than added chemicalized fluoride, but you know, you see natural fluoride in tea, processed cereal, wine, beer, and soda, and medications. Prozac, Paxil, the fluoroquinone antibiotics have fluorine in it. So all of these things interfere with thyroid medication. How many people use this in our society? I mean, I don't use toothpaste at all. I never do. For this reason, okay? And I don't drink, rarely do I drink public drinking water. So we can measure the thyroid with several things. You do a temperature test, which is cheap, easy, and you do it at home. So your body temperature reflects your metabolic energy state. So the optimal, a temperature below 98.6 is less than an optimal state. Body temperature should be taken orally 3 times during the day, 3 hours apart. And the gerotherm thermometer is supposed to be the best for that. And then you plot that. You plot it on a graph, okay, like graph paper, and you look at it over the course of a month. Although in 3 days, within 3 days, if your temperature is consistently low, you know your thyroid's not functioning like it's supposed to.
And that's a low thyroid if it's...
Yeah, that'd be low
if it's
thyroid.
Low.
Yeah, be low thyroid. This is actually one of the more accurate ways to measure thyroid, because your body temperature is a reflection of what's going on with your thyroid. So lifestyle measures for low body temperature: stress reduction, declutter, simplify, exercise, especially short sprints, detoxification, organic foods to avoid pesticides and toxins. You got to avoid gluten. If you have thyroid issues, you have to avoid gluten and other lectins as well. Get adequate rest, good whole food, multivitamin, good nutrition are all good for thyroid dysfunction. Why not use T4? What's wrong with thin thyroid and level thyroxine? Well, these drugs work for some people. And when TSH is normal and body temperature is low, T4, the problem is it for a lot of people, they don't convert it to T3 very well, because selenium is absolutely imperative for the conversion of T4 to T3. So if they're low in selenium, taking levothyroxine and thin synthroid is not going to help them that much. And I see a lot of people that don't do well on these drugs. They're not being helped by them. If symptoms do improve with T4 containing medicine, they tend to reoccur when the T4 is discontinued. Classic story: better for 2 to 3 months and worse again, or worse right off the bat. The wheat zoomer test is one I use in the office. It is a great test. It measures leaky gut and all aspects of wheat and gluten intolerance, all parts of the wheat. So this is one I use frequently when I really want to find out. I also like blood tests to measure thyroid. These are the ones that I use: TSH, total T4, free T3, reverse T3, and the thyroid autoimmune antibodies, which are extremely valuable in finding out whether someone has thyroid dysfunction. And just recently, I have a 23-year-old patient who works out regularly, eats a pretty healthy diet, and I did a blood test on her, and her TSH came back above 5, and I said, there's something going on here. So I did the autoimmune thyroid markers, and sure enough, she's in the very early stages of autoimmune thyroid disease. We caught it real early. So we're going to work on that. And let me just tell you about how people respond to natural help for thyroid. You can help a thyroid patient a lot. What I found, though, is when they're pretty far down the road with thyroid dysfunction, I mean, their autoimmune markers are sky high, you can never get them perfect to stay perfect, okay? You can get them feeling a lot better. You can get their numbers better, but as soon as they get something like COVID or they get a vaccine, their TSH skyrockets. I've seen it many times. So what I try and do with thyroid patients, especially long-term thyroid patients, we test their markers periodically. We adjust the supplements we're giving them, and they do pretty well. But they're never, some of these patients are just never going to be normal again. They just can't be. And we can get them close, but what I found, as soon as they have, like I had a patient that got a tetanus shot, and she's a thyroid patient. This is several years ago, and her TSH skyrocketed when she got that shot, and it took me several months to get it back down again. And she had COVID, TSH skyrocketed, and this is a very healthy woman, except she has thyroid issues, and she has to eat a very strict, it was called the autoimmune diet. But I found that you can help these people a lot, but if they're really far down the road, you try and maintain as good a balance as you can. Adjusting people and lasering them, I found is extremely helpful for thyroid. Does it fix everybody? No, but it's very helpful. Very, very helpful. The thyroid has a nerve supply, it comes out of the base of the neck, and it can be very, very useful adjusting that area when people have thyroid issues. Some of the things that we use in our office, these are products that we use, myrrh, selenium, zinc, iodine, and this blue flag, bladderwhack, ashwagandha, bacopa. These are all in products like Thyroid Complex. So they work really well. If temperature is still low after a week, the dose can be increased. It is very safe. Whole food complex vitamin C, absolutely crucial for normal thyroid function. This can be the key because it contains a biochemical called tyrosinase, which is very, very important for normal thyroid function. Low-level laser, as I said, laser in the thyroid sometimes gives you pretty fast results, but I like it a lot. So, summary. Lots of things can affect the thyroid. Body temperature, very accurate way, an inexpensive way to measure thyroid dysfunction and distinguish it between thyroid and adrenals. Functional medicine protocols can work very well a lot of the time. So you probably know some people that have thyroid issues, and who do you know that, they have thyroid issues, they're not getting better, they just struggle, that they may be a good candidate for office for functional medicine. So what I would do is look at all the testing they've had, any other tests that they need we could order, and find out and start giving them things that nourish and bring balance to their thyroid and their adrenals, because sometimes it's an adrenal issue. So great. Any questions? Okay, thanks for being here tonight. I appreciate it. Hope that you got something out of that.
So